beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare of freedom beat across.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the dedication of the Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield Institute for Civil Political Communications at Shepard University. My name is David Welch, and I'm really proud and honored to be the inaugural director of this institute. We are honored by your presence and awfully flattered by your encouragement and support, and we're especially happy to have with us today our great United States Senator Shelley Moore Capito. Thank you, Senator, for all you do for our state and nation. And although Joe Manchin, our other great senator, was unable to be with us today, we are so pleased to welcome Gale Manchin in his place. Thank you, Gale, for being here. To begin this wonderful dedication ceremony today, I can think of nothing better than to be inspired by my favorite national hymn, sung by Shepard University's very own Dr. Scott Beard, our university provost, and Dr. Rob Tudor, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences.
Beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare of freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America,
I feel lucky that I go to the same church as Rob. Get to hear him sing like that quite often. The mission of the Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield Institute for Civil Political Communications is to study and promote how intelligent, civil, and authentic political discourse can play an essential role in our nation's ability to better meet challenges and solve problems, and to demonstrate how opposite viewpoints can be respected and legitimized in ways that avoid negative labeling and alienation. It was also founded to bring pride to an already proud university, and in so doing, we joined such great campus initiatives as the Byrd Center for Congressional History and Education. Jay, it's so nice to have you with us today. CATF, a world-class debate team of which we have a member today, and so many other high-value programs. It is my hope that we live up to the standards and traditions you have all set for us before we came along. To you, President Hendricks, and the Shepard Board of Governors present here today, thank you for your amazing support in launching the Stubblefield Institute. Let me begin today by also saying how honored we are by the attendance of nearly every member of the Eastern Panhandle State Legislative Delegation. Our Eastern Panhandle State Delegation includes both the House and Senate Finance Committee Chairman Eric Householder and Craig Blair, Chairwoman of the Senate Education Committee Patricia Rucker, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee Charles Trump, and House Speaker Pro Tem Darrell Coles. They are joined by Delegates Sammy Brown, Jason Barrett, John Hardy, Majority Whip Paul Espinoza, Larry Kump, and Shepherdtown's only John Doyle. Thank you for the work you do in Charleston in supporting Shepard University, and also thank you for being here, former Delegate Stephen Skinner, who is my very dear friend. I also want to thank our locally elected officials in attendance this morning, Judge David Camiliti, Sheriff Pete Doherty, Mayor Jim Oxer, Councilman Mark Everhart, Magistrate Darrell Scholl, and the now retired but still very awesome Chris Wilkes. Thank you all for being here. I really am happy to see so many friends here today. I'm sure Rob and I have interviewed most of you on our radio show. In just a moment, just a word about Rob. Rob, Mary, and I have now been, well, we did our first radio show together in 1995. And when you sit across 2 feet away from each other Monday through Friday every day, you do get to know each other. But Rob, I know you're very busy, and I'm awfully grateful that you came today. Thank you. But if you haven't met my family yet, I just want to point them out. My wife, Debbie, my beautiful daughter, Laura, her husband, Ed, he's beautiful too. And the star, the real star of our family, our granddaughter, Emily Kiefer, who is a student here at Shepard University. I wish to acknowledge 2 people who I rely on almost every day for wisdom and advice, and they are David Avella and Scott Widmeyer. They are my go-to guys, and they do this without pay. They're volunteers, and I'm so grateful to have both of them in my life. David, as you well know, is a national leader in Republican politics. Scott Widmeyer is an equally respected leader in national progressive politics. When David Avella first came up with the idea to create this institute, and it was uniquely David Avella's idea, he asked Scott to join him, and I'm so thrilled, Scott, that you said yes. You're just so awesome to work with. Together, these 2 leaders of opposite viewpoints on probably almost everything, both were born and raised in Martinsburg, and they truly embody the spirit of this institute. And I just want to say thank you to both of you guys for it wouldn't have happened without you. And Doug Widmeyer, Scott's dad, is also here. And if I have this right, you attended Shepard in the 1940s. Is that correct? Yeah, so that might make you the longest ago Shepard student here today. So thank you for coming. In addition to David and Scott, several other members of our board of advisors are here this morning. Dr. Scott Beard, who plays a pretty good piano, I think, is our provost. Dr. Ken Martz, Dean of the College of Business, both who have been instrumental in getting this institute off the ground. I tease Scott every once in a while. It's very rare you go to a meeting with Scott that he's not actually running it. But he is the one who really brought us all together. I want to also acknowledge another board member, our student member, our rotating member, Jordan Jalil, who is at the president's table this morning. I can't say enough about what she has meant to this organization in the first 90 days. She's a member of our national champion debate team. She is studying to be a lawyer. I know there's a lot of lawyers in the room today, and you can all start bidding on her now because she's going to be awesome. And I also want to acknowledge my partner in everything we do at the Institute, Dr. Stephanie Slocum-Schaefer. She doubles as both a board member and as the Institute's faculty representative and is in every way the co-director of this Institute. I could not do this without her, so thank you so much. One board member, Kelly Johnston, the former Secretary of the U.S. Senate, could not be with us today. I also want to do a big shout out to all the members of Shepard's world-class political science and communications faculty, many of who are here today. The political science faculty was my first meeting at Shepard, and it is a meeting I will never forget. Thank you, professors, for being so incredibly supportive of this institute. And also just to point out my professional team, Sarah Burke, who's our new communications manager of communications and events, is here today on her second day on the job. So talk about being thrown into the pit, and she's got an event to plan in 5 weeks from now. And I'm just going to step back and watch her do it. Not really. I wanted to thank Sandy Spinagle and Ellen, also from Platinum PR, who are here, and our senior advisor for partnership and philanthropy, Greg Fields, in from Manassas, Virginia, who has been unbelievable in helping us establish relationships and connections with the big foundations around the country, and we're actually making some very good inroads with that. Greg and I are political opposites. This is, again, in the spirit of the Institute, but we're okay with that since we were in the same sixth grade together in 1964 in Los Angeles, so we go back a long, long ways. And I would be remiss if I didn't do this, and she's not going to like it at all when I do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'd like to have a big round of applause for Sonia Shawley, Executive Assistant to the President, for her superb leadership in organizing this dedication event, and all of the colleagues who supported her. Thank you, Sonia. Which leaves me with two people to thank and acknowledge, and that would be my dear friends, Doctors Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield. Their generous financial support in launching this institute is only part of the story. That's the part that everybody knows about. The other equally important part is their commitment to an America where rancor is replaced with reason and demonizing is replaced with discussion. While they don't manage the institute, they are truly its heart and soul. Bonnie and Bill, in both our public outreach programs and in our student and academic engagement, the institute that bears your names will always work for the principles that you so deeply believe in. You've done something really good for your state, for your community, and your nation, and we thank you. Bill's going to tell me I went overboard, but I don't care. Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Mary Jacy Hendricks, is Shepard University's 16th president and is the first graduate to lead the school in its history. I think you were born and raised in Shepherdstown, too.
Born in California, but raised in...
Okay, all right. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree from Shepard in pre-med biology and her PhD from George Washington University in anatomy. Subsequently, she was a National Institutes of Health postdoctoral research fellow at Harvard Medical School in the Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology. Before coming to Shepard, she was president and chief scientific officer of the Stanley Mann Children's Research Institute at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, where prior to that she held various leadership positions at the University of Iowa, St. Louis University, and the University of Arizona. Dr. Hendricks has been a member of the National Institutes of Health, NIH Council of Councils, the Human Genome Research Institute Council, and the National Cancer Institute, Board of Scientific Advisors. She is a past president of FASB, Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology, consisting of more than 100,000 members, the largest coalition of biomedical research societies in the United States. She has testified before Congress numerous times in hearings regarding the budgets of the National Institutes of Health, Department of Defense, and National Science Foundation, and about human embryonic stem cell research. She also served as a co-founder and co-director of the Virtual Naval Hospital, a digital medical library created to provide critical information to service personnel deployed at remote sites, which was adopted by the navies of 4 countries. Dr. Hendricks became a leading scientist in cancer research with a goal of discovering new therapeutic strategies to inhibit metastasis. She has authored more than 280 publications on biomedical research and is the recipient of numerous awards. She has 10 patents related to the treatment of cancer, and these patents were recently licensed to a pharmaceutical company. That's the official bio. Now I would like to tell you just a little bit about the Mary Hendricks I have come to know these past 8 months. If you have a good idea, she will be your biggest cheerleader, as she has been for this nascent institute of ours. Her boundless enthusiasm and leadership for our mission of improving civil discourse in the political arena has been instrumental in our founding and launch. On a personal note, I have grown to deeply admire and respect the scholar and president, and it is my honor to present to you Dr. Mary Jacy Hendricks, the 16th president of Shepard University.
Thank you so much, David, for those very generous remarks. I appreciate it. This is such an exciting day. It is hard not to smile with a lot of appreciation to everyone in this room. Welcome to all of our distinguished guests who have joined us today for the dedication of the Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield Institute for Civil Political Communications. We are honored to have with us today Senator Shelley Moore Capito and Senator Joe Manchin's wife, Gale Manchin, who will convey the senator's remarks. Both Senators Capito and Manchin exemplify the civility in public and political discourse that is the hallmark of the Stubblefield Institute. Thank you for joining us today and demonstrating your collegiality to advance the needs of West Virginians over political partisanship. We are most appreciative of the transformational gift from Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield that has established this extraordinary institute. The programming offered by the Institute will enrich our students' educational experience and provide them with unique learning opportunities. And I'm going to give you just an example of this that occurred recently. The recent Institute-sponsored event where Shepard's award-winning debate and forensics team watched and analyzed the Democratic Party presidential candidates' debate gave our students the opportunity to rate the professional debaters in the candidates forum. And their analysis was very interesting, and they are our future. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Bill and Bonnie Stubblefield for their generosity and foresight in developing the Stubblefield Institute at Shepard University. You have given us an extraordinary platform. I would also like to recognize David Avella and David Welch, who facilitated the big picture thinking and creativity that helped lead to the establishment of the Stubblefield Institute. David Avella is a member of Shepard's Board of Governors and a Shepard alumnus, and David Welch is the inaugural director of the Stubblefield Institute. I would now like to ask Bill and Bonnie and David just to join me at the lectern for just a few minutes, please. I have a little something to give you. Okay. This is going to be yours. Okay. Bill and Bonnie, you have to be together for yours. I figure you'll share, right?
We'll share.
Okay. You're going to share. Okay. We're just going to get a quick little photo.
Let's go over here behind that so we get a good backdrop.
Okay. Okay. That's okay, these are the important people over here.
Need you in there, come on.
Oh, okay. Where- just wait. Okay. What do you think? Women in the middle? Thank you. Thank you so much. A small token of our appreciation. Thank you. Okay, that's enough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your significant roles in creating the Stubblefield Institute for Civil Political Communications. Shepard University is proud to host this remarkable institute and its noteworthy mission on our campus. Thank you again, and thank you to everyone for attending today. Thank you.
You know, when I was going through the introduction and going through your bio, I don't think I know a single person in my personal life with so many achievements as you. It is truly amazing what you've done in your life. I just want to introduce the person who's going to introduce our next speaker. Jason Barrett, a delegate from Martinsburg, a dear friend of mine and a Democrat member of the House of Delegates, will introduce Shelley Moore Capito.
Thank you, David. First, to Bill and Bonnie Stubblefield, our community is incredibly grateful to you for all the things that you've done, and this institute is just another example of your love of our community. To David Welch and David Avella, your vision for this is second to none. And I remember when David first came to me and said, "This is my idea. What do you think?" And I thought, what a great idea to have here at Shepard University. And several years ago, when I was here, I thought how great this would have been for someone who knew that they wanted to get in politics and do it in a civil manner. And David, I can tell you that that students here at Shepard College, or University, Shepard College when I was here, they will be forever grateful for the things that they learn here in this institute. Senator Byrd used to say that West Virginians are can-do people. And it was true when he said it, and it's extremely true now. And no two people embody that in West Virginia more than Senator Capito and Senator Manchin. And they put their love of West Virginia ahead of everyone. Ahead of anything they do, it's for the state of West Virginia. And they don't do that for political purposes. They do that because that's who they are. And we are grateful for you both. I believe that the only two senators in the United States that are referred to by their first name wherever they go are Joe and Shelley. And we don't refer to you that to be disrespectful of you nor our office. But that shows your personal connection to the people of West Virginia and your relationships with them. You know, Senator, I was at an event over the weekend with one of our former colleagues, Harry Keith White. And I believe the two of you were elected to the House of Delegates together. And I said, "Harry Keith, you know, I'm looking for a story of Senator Capito." And he said, "Well, Jason, I don't have any bad ones." And I said, "Well, Harry Keith, I wasn't looking for one of those." And he told me, he said, "You know, you two were first elected together. You sit next to each other on the House floor." And Harry Keith was a Democrat, or is a Democrat. And the two of you worked extremely well together. The respect that he has for you is shown by members of the legislature, both current and former, all over this state. And he told me what made Harry Keith light up the most was when he talked about how your dad, former Governor Moore, would come to Mingo County, and every time he did, he stayed at Harry Keith's house. And that is the type of political civility that we need to embody and that we need to grow upon, not only here in West Virginia, but all over this country. And your family is a prime example of that. As many of you know, Senator Capito has served in both the House of Delegates and the United States Congress before being elected, the first female elected, and not the last, to the United States Senate from West Virginia. And now serves on the Senate Appropriations Committee. And Senator, I will tell you from a personal standpoint that your staff and your office have been extremely helpful to me over the years. I am grateful for that, and I know that starts at the top, and that comes from you. And I can tell you that we are grateful for your service here in the state of West Virginia. So without further ado, Senator Shelley Moore Capito.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for that great introduction. I told him, I said, I'm glad Harry Keith didn't let loose, because we know he could with a couple good stories. But I want to thank you for your leadership. It's so great to see young leaders in West Virginia willing to throw their hat into the ring to be the next generation to take the reins. So thank you for what you do. Dr. Hendricks, it's great to be back on the campus of Shepard University. I always take the opportunity to say, as we drove by the Miller building, that's my husband's great-great-great-grandfather or something. That's my claim to fame. And I believe he was president of the college when it was a combination high school college, so maybe 20s, 30s, 1930s or something. Anyway, so when you drive by the Miller building, think of it as the Capito building, because it's pretty close. It's wonderful to be here and pay tribute to the creation of an institute that, as I was listening to the radio, because I had to end up driving up early this morning, I thought, what do we need more than civil political discussion and discourse? And the Stubblefields, by their generous gift and by the way they conduct themselves, I mean, really, I know Bill better than I know Bonnie, because we've served together, and Bill's come in and talked about retired officers' issues with me, but also his service as a commissioner over in Berkeley County. And kindness and willingness to sit and listen is, I think, a hallmark of certainly of Bill's service. And then Bonnie, with her tremendous past history at the Geologic Survey. I looked at this this little thing here where it says, listen, learn, engage. That's probably what you had to do every day. And so, you know, as I look at civil discourse today, and I look at Gale, and I think about Gale and Charlie, my husband, and Joe and I, we have a great relationship. And that's what West Virginians are really good at, is building relationships, keeping relationships, and keeping the discourse between, I mean, you know, the Hatfields and McCoys were not probably a good example of this, but we do have a way of recognizing that we live in one big, small town, one small, big town, or small community of West Virginians is what I'm trying to say. And so I think about, what do I talk to students about when I'm trying to give them a sense of public service and a sense of what it's like to serve? And one of the things I've kind of started talking about, at graduation speeches are always hard to give too, is I tell the students to look up, because what are they doing all the time? They're looking down. My staff better not be looking down. They're looking down. They're looking down at their devices all the time. You know that, Peter, over at the school? I mean, that's just the way it is. And so what we've built up in this country is a lack of civil discourse that I think is really fed by social media in a lot of ways, because it's faceless. You can say what you want. Actually, somebody asked me the other day, I was playing tennis, and the guy said, do you look at your Facebook comments? And I went, heck no, I don't look at my Facebook comments. But I mean, I could probably learn a lot if I would look at them and, you know, constructively learn a lot. But instead, it's become such a vitriolic, easy way to just smash people that you just become either A, numb to it, or you ignore it. And so what could be a useful tool, I think in some ways has been used as a battering ram. And you certainly see that in the larger political discourse we see today, and in political campaigns. You see it in local campaigns. I mean, it's a powerful instrument for good, but it can certainly be used for bad, and it can also be used as a substitute of civil conversation and discourse. Because you can say, oh, well, I texted him and let him know. Well, sometimes a text can mean a lot of different things, even though you're writing the same thing. So I don't know that I'm making much a dent with the younger generation, but I try to talk about how it used to be when you had a neighbor move in and you'd go over and you'd take brownies and you'd get to know their kids, and pretty soon you're carpooling with their kids, or you're helping them with a certain subject of school, or they're coming in and talking to me about what it's like to be in the Senate, and we're losing some of that. As we get into our busy lives and we substitute other ways to communicate, we lose that face-to-face ability to really say how we feel and what we do. And it's the same way in politics. We talk at, above, or around one another, and we don't really sit down and really have the discourse. So that's why I think creating an institute like this is exceedingly important. And it's great that it's here at Shepard. It's close to D.C. You're going to get great speakers. I've already heard about some of the aspirations that David and David have. And I think what you're going to find is that even though you're going to get a lot of disagreement on fundamental philosophies, if people are treated with respect and not disparaged as evil or stupid or too old or too young or the wrong color or the wrong sex, you can really find that at the core of us, there's more that's this common than where our differences are. And we can actually achieve more if we show respect. And so that's kind of how I've tried to do my public service over the years. And I do want to give you some hopeful hints I work with Senator Manchin all the time. I mean, practically daily we are in contact and our staffs are in contact. But I've also worked with Senator Gillibrand for the issue over at the Martinsburg Airport on the PFAS issue. I've worked with Senator Shaheen on the opioid issue, because in New Hampshire, both Shaheen and Hassan, both Democrats, because New Hampshire has the same intensity of the opioid conflict or problem that we have here in West Virginia. I worked with Senator Reed from Rhode Island on the childhood cancer bill, because we found that we didn't really have good research on childhood cancer. And you would know this, Dr. Hendricks, in terms of what happens to children after they go through treatment and how it follows them through adolescence and into adulthood. I've worked with Senator Carper from Delaware to talk about transportation and infrastructure, and Senator Manchin on just about everything. We have common goals. We both love West Virginia. All of us do. But we have a particular passion that we have through our families' lives. So Aristotle said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." Just because we're talking doesn't mean we have to agree. But you know what? We could actually learn something. And so I think civil discourse and conversation, to me too, also means learning how to listen. And honestly, Joe and I serve in a place where there's and the state legislature is the same way. It was a good proving ground for me. Quite a bit of bloviating can go on at all levels of government, and certainly in the halls of Congress. But at the end, we're building relationships, we're building conversations, and while it may not appear as though we're working together or working for things together, there are a lot of things that we do together that I think the Stubblefield Institute will be able to uncover. I think it will give you optimism about where we're going in our future, because it's easy to get pessimistic with all the barbs and disrespect and negativism towards one another. You see, there's really a lot of room to know that, number one, we have great respect for our country and our ideals and our freedoms and all the things we're founded on. We want great futures for our children, and now I'm a grandmother for our grandchildren. And we want to be able, at the end of the day, to put our head on the pillow and know that, at least I do want to put my head on the pillow and know that I've treated people with respect, I've listened, I've disagreed, but in the end, I still maintain the friendship and the relationship, because even if I don't agree with you today, I might need you tomorrow, because we might agree together to get something done. So I'm going to tell a quick Joe Manchin story. I have a very long one. If you've ever been to the business summit, you heard me tell the story of Joe and I driving home together in his car, which I wouldn't recommend unless you have nerves of steel. Right, Gale? Right. I'll tell you the beginning of the story. We were leaving at 9 o'clock. We had to be at a meeting at 9 o'clock the next morning in Charleston, and the only way to get home was to drive. And so Joe says, "You want to go?" I said, "Sure, I'll go." And I get in the car, and Gale calls, and he's on the Bluetooth. That's the good news. He was on the Bluetooth, and Gale, I can hear on the speaker, and he says, Shelley's in the car with me, and he says, "I just gave Shelley your neck pillow." And Gale goes, "Oh, Shelley, don't go to sleep. And I said, why? And she goes, because Joe goes to sleep if you go to sleep. That was the first 5 minutes of the ride home. It progressed to getting stopped by the state trooper that we took a selfie with. It progressed to me realizing the state trooper is stopping us, two very grown-up adults of different sexes, in the car together at 1:30 in the morning in Beckley, West Virginia. And then it ended with my husband going, "You're home already?" It was record time between the time we left and the time we got back to West Virginia. And the other thing that Joe, when we do disagree, and you know, Joe's a very forceful man, as I'm sure Gale knows better than me, and he's a great presence in terms of his media presence and everything. And so sometimes I'm a lot shorter than he is too, and sometimes I'm trying to edge in there. You know, it's hard to get Joe edged out, right, Gale?
Yeah, you have to be loud.
So I told him one time, I said, you know, can you explain something to me, Joe? I said, every time we disagree on an issue, every time, and we're getting interviewed at the same time, you always get in there in front of me, and you know, he's about a foot taller than me, get in there in front of me, and you get your story out first, before I can even say a word. I was a little ticked at him, actually, but I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be civil in getting my message across. And he goes, "Yeah, pretty good, huh?" And then he said, "I learned it from the master." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, your dad." So with that, I think that shows you, too, that one of the things that I think is absolutely critical to civil discussion is to have a sense of humor. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody has all the best ways to go, and the Stubblefields, by them being active participants here with Shepard, I look forward to coming back and having a civil discussion, and I say good luck and great. This is great for the community, but it's really, really great for the state. Thank you.
When I was thanking the legislators, it occurred to me when I went over and sat down that I may have forgotten Tom Bibby. So nice to have you too here, Tom. Forgot to mention you. Shelley, thank you very much. I wanted to, if you don't mind, tell the story. The first time I met Senator Capito was when she was a member of the House of Delegates, and I really wanted to work on her campaign for Congress. She was making that transition. I don't remember the year, but I know that I went to her home, and her children were much younger than they are now, of course, and she got home in the evening, and of course, like any mom, had to make dinner and get everything ready. And so the interview I had with her was in her kitchen while she made dinner, and that's how I first got to know. And Rob and I, on the Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave every morning from 8 to 10, which I know you all listen to, or I hope you do. But we have a saying on our program that if you're named Joe or Shelley, you don't need to be scheduled on the show. You get on anytime you want. I want to bring up at this time Senator Charles Trump, who's a Republican senator from Morgan and Berkeley County, to introduce Gale Manchin. Charles?
Thank you, David. Senator Capito, President Hendricks, other distinguished guests, it's a great pleasure to be here. Bonnie and Bill, well done. Well done. It is so needed. So needed. And your vision for this is going to pay enormous dividends to our Eastern Panhandle, to all of West Virginia, and to the entire nation. Incivility is an impediment to solving problems. And that's what we need. We need solutions to problems, serious solutions, and your recognition of one of the major impediments to finding those solutions has led to the creation of this institute from which everyone will benefit. I want to echo all the words that have been said. This is the perfect place for this institute. Shepard University, West Virginia. Much has been said already about the example that is set by our two U.S. senators, Shelley and Joe, first names only. And they're not just words, it's real. It's real. They work together to solve problems. So I have the high privilege of introducing the next speaker, who knows one of our U.S. senators very well. Gale is a graduate of West Virginia University, and she has a tremendous long record of public service in her own right, not to mention her responsibilities in maintaining Joe Manchin's civility. Gale worked in Marion County Schools and then served on the faculty at Fairmont State University. I got to know Gale well during her tenure as Secretary of the Cabinet of Education and the Arts in Charleston. From 2005 through 2010, she served, of course, as the First Lady of the state of West Virginia, married to our 34th governor, the 34th governor of the West Virginia, who is now our senior United States Senator, Joe Manchin. Gale, like Joe and Shelley and Charlie, is a model of civility. And she knows and believes and lives the idea that with civil communication, respectful discourse, people can find solutions to problems that vex our society. And she has a long, distinguished career demonstrating that in her own right. So please help me give to a Marion County girl a good Eastern Panhandle welcome for Gale Manchin, a model of civility and grace.
Thank you so much, Charlie. I appreciate that. And also to President Hendricks, as you spoke this morning about the vision out there and others that have had this vision, then we certainly have to recognize your leadership and vision, which has helped make this possible today. So thank you for your service and for what you're bringing to Shepard University. Certainly, Shelley, it is a long family relationship, friendship, going back to your parents. I remember one of the real best points when I had the honor of serving as First Lady, and of course, Shelley's mom had also served as First Lady, and one of her projects during her tenure as First Lady was having all of the dining room chairs covered in a needlepoint design, which actually became a competition around West Virginia. So it was the seal of West Virginia, but you individuals did the needlepoint, mailed it in, there was a judging, and then however many chairs, there are now 24, 26 chairs around the dining room table, were selected and put in. And the interesting thing, there was actually one husband-wife winner. Both the husband and the wife had submitted a needlepoint and had been accepted. Anyway, over the years, it had been worn, and we did a renovation of the mansion because it needed to be done, but there were the cushions on the chairs. And of course, the easy thing to have done was to have said, they're faded and they need to be replaced like everything else. And Mrs. Moore served on an advisory committee for the mansion, and I looked at her face the day that we talked about that in the meeting. And so we found a gentleman that actually worked with historic artifacts, and he came in and cleaned took them off the chairs, cleaned the fabric, and then put them back on the chairs so that they did look like new seat covers that matched the new carpeting and drapes in the room. And so one of the best days of my life was being able to write Mrs. Moore and say, Your cushions are protected and will be there for the next 100 years till the mansion is renovated again. But those are family stories and relationships that make West Virginia special, because it is about family. And in talking about family, I have to recognize Tina Coombs. I don't know where she is right now. Where is Tina sitting? Tina. Who, we were in the trenches together. We both served on the State Board of Education for 9 years. So Tina, thank you for being here. It's good to see you today. Also, I would be remiss not to recognize Mara Boggs, who is the State Director for West Virginia for Joe's office back there, and also Keith McIntosh, who you all know because he's right over here in the Eastern Panhandle. And to Bill and Bonnie. Joe, of course, was very upset that he couldn't be here. Bill, he spoke to you on the phone to explain he did have to go out of the country, and so I was going to be here anyway, but I was very honored to get to stand up here. And it is, as everyone that has been up here has talked about, that it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, somewhere in between. There is no better time than right now for us to stand up and talk about civility and respect and how we treat one another. Whether it is because of the culture, social media, which I know has played a part of this, video games, whatever the excuses, our political discourse has suffered from it. Joe and I have been around politics for many years, probably too many, but every time that he ran for an office, it was a family decision. All of Joe's elections have been a little rough, but none as rough as the last one. Modern politics has gotten mean. It's not just about the candidate, it's the whole family who is targeted. And that's why it's hard to get good people. It's why it's hard to talk young people into standing up and becoming a part and joining in to the discourse, because it's not a good discourse. I mean, who wants to be dragged through the mud or have these awful things being said about you? The good news is, I think people are sick of it. I don't know how many times people told me during the campaign that they had just started turning their TV off in October of any election year, and they hated to check their mailbox because of all the mailers that were coming in. I've heard people say that if you vote early, you should be able to opt out of all campaign ads. That's why your institute is important. It's not just about the candidates anymore. It's about everybody, and they're tired, and they want something different. It's not going to be an easy task, but please know that Joe stands behind this 1,000%. Beyond that, he continues to do his part in D.C. to restore integrity. He filed a bill that makes it an ethics violation to campaign against a sitting colleague. You know, it's interesting that you work together, you're on committees, you do this work, and then on the weekend you go to a fundraiser and give money to the candidate running against your sitting colleague. And then you go back on Monday and say, and by the way, do you want to help me support this bill? Yeah, that's not the way it should work. And so this bill is to just say you don't try to raise money against your sitting colleagues. Every bill that he works on, he tries to make bipartisan. I know that he greatly enjoys his work with Shelley. They have great back and forth with each other, and some that he truly loves to come home and tell about the conversation. So while this task is not an easy one, it is certainly a very important one. And I'm going to read the greeting that Joe has sent on behalf for Bill and Bonnie. But two things. I've had the honor of being appointed to the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. I'm one of 9 commissioners in this country. We come from all parts of the country. There are 5, they are appointed by the leadership. So the President, House, and Senate leadership appoint the commissioners. So there are 5 Republican commissioners from all over the country, and there are 4 Democrat commissioners. And we are all very different. We all came in together on this commission. And on the first day that we sat down at our table for our meeting, we made a promise that it was our mission, that it didn't matter what our political parties were, it didn't matter what our philosophical ideals were. What was important, that we shared a passion that every person, not just in our country, globally, should have the freedom to worship in whatever way they wish to worship or not worship. And that was our mission, and that was our passion. And we worked together all year to push forward that mission. We travel out of the country, we hold hearings, we hold roundtable discussions, and we do it together. We do it because of what we believe in, not because of what we differ in. And that is certainly the rule. And we have said, we hope we are the model for other commissions, for other institutions in and around Washington, that it can work. And the other just personal note, we had a family member pass away earlier in the year. And I tell this story, Bill and Bonnie, because I know your work with oceanography and the sea. And it was his wishes that his ashes be put in the Pacific Ocean. And so we went out there for that event. I had never been to a ceremony where ashes were distributed. And the gentleman that had the boat that took us out, that was what he did. And it was beautiful. He had a very pleasing voice, so the entire, I will never forget it. But right before his ashes were put into the water, he said, you know, all of the oceans in the world join together. So wherever you are in the world, your loved one is with you. And what I thought about this morning, and when I knew your work with oceanography, is that if all of the oceans of the world are joined together, is it too much to ask that all of the people of the world cannot join together? And so the greeting. On behalf of the citizens of the Mountain State, and as your United States Senator, it is an honor to join you in celebration of the Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield Institute for Civil Political Communications at Shepard University. Now more than ever, I believe the rest of the nation is coming around to what West Virginians have known all along, that we are at our best when we are working together. It is easy to fall into a rhythm of cynical, partisan thinking, but as West Virginians know all too well, nothing that is worth doing is easy. We are certainly at our best when we're working together. With that being said, I believe our home state has the potential to be the leader of this national discussion, and I truly appreciate Shepard University President Mary Hendricks, Bonnie and Bill Stubblefield, the Institute's bipartisan board of advisors, Institute Director David Welch, and all who have played a role in the creation of this important platform. Recently, I was proud to join in Cindy McCain's call for civility in Washington. Senator John McCain lived his life with the utmost integrity, and he held the rest of us to that same standard. His commitment to our nation is unparalleled, and we are all better for the example that he set. It was an honor to call him my friend. Though he and I had our disagreements over the years, at the end of the day, we respected our differences of opinion and did not let it interfere with our determination to find common ground for the betterment of the country we know. That same sentiment is why I find the creation of the Stubblefield Institute so inspiring. I am truly grateful to the Stubblefields for enabling the creation of this platform for the study of political communications amid our national political culture of divided ideology and partisan divisiveness. Doctors Bonnie and William Stubblefield both have contributed decades of unparalleled expertise, leadership, and service in Berkeley County and beyond. Regardless of where you come from, what you've achieved, or what your party affiliation may be, I think we can all agree that as a state and as a nation, we want to be more united and hopeful for our future. Today's celebration is certainly a step in the right direction. Thank you, and God bless you. With warmest regards, Joe Manchin, your United States Senator. Thank you.
Nicely done, Gale. Thank you. Last time we saw Senator Manchin at the radio station was right before his election day, I think, and it was raining, pouring rain, and in walks the senator after a long ride on his Harley Davidson. And that's how we interviewed him. So, Shelley, if you want to keep up, you need to get on that Harley, okay?
It's tough.
I just wanted to...
But he beat me. He goes, I beat you. I said, I know. He goes, yeah, I weigh 100 more pounds.
That's too much.
But we don't compete.
I wanted to close with this. I wanted to just sort of explain how the Institute is going to work, or how we envision it working. Our first and foremost responsibility will always be to our undergraduate students, because they are the future when it comes to almost everything that we do, and providing or supporting their education when it comes to communications, and the application of communications in the political arena is very important to us. And that's why, along those lines, we intend to have a very robust academic program that we're going to help support, that will result in, I think, Stephanie, by next year, a political science major with a concentration in political communications, which we think, Scott, don't get mad at me for saying this, but in a short time after that, it might result in a major in political communications, which would make us one of 12 schools in the country to offer an undergraduate degree in political communications. So we're moving in that direction. In addition, we're trying to get funding for some robust faculty research programs, which I know our professors are very excited about, an in-the-classroom program that will bring practitioners of politics into the classroom. And that's one of the unique things about this institute. Some institutes are completely academic run. This is a combination of practitioners and academicians coming together to make decisions in this institute. And I think that that's a very important and unique part of what we're trying to do. The other part of our program is our public outreach program, which is we're going to call the American Conversation Series. Thank you, Scott Woodmeyer, putting his best PR hat on and coming up with that great name. And these are going to be conversations, we hope, for the most part, always maybe, across partisan lines, where it'll be a moderated discussion most of the time, where we're going to discuss an important issue. And our first one, I'm happy to tell you, will be Monday, November the 4th in the evening, I think at 6:30. You will all be getting an email on this, so you don't have to write it down right now. Save the date on this. But our first series is going to be, our first evening, our first episode, if you will be an evening with Donna Brazil and Mercedes Schlapp. Donna Brazil is the former chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee. She is the first African-American woman to manage a presidential campaign. She is absolutely awesome if you've never seen her on TV or read her books, and she will just be a joy. Senator Capito is sharing with me her like for Donna Brazil as well. And then on the other side, Mercedes Schlapp. who was Donald Trump's first communications director in the White House. You could not have two women more far apart than Mercedes Schlapp and Donna Brazil. But we look forward to a good conversation, one in which you are, I think, going to be very entertained by, and you're going to learn a lot by it. I know we're going to turn a lot of students out for that, I think, Jordan. It's either going to be in the Byrd Center or across the street in the student ballroom. We haven't figured that part out yet, so we're working on a venue. I might just reserve both of them. I don't know. So I just wanted to let you all know. And the final thing I wanted to do, I think we're only about a minute overdue. If you have a smartphone on you, any kind of device, I would appreciate you doing something for me, and that's take them out. So yes, Senator Capito staff, you're allowed to take your devices out, because this is a special, come on up, don't see anybody reaching for their devices. I want you to take your device out, if you have one on you, and go to Facebook, and I want on your Facebook, the Stubblefield Institute for Civil, by the time you get that far, it'll probably print out on the top. But if you have it, I want you to like our page, if you can, and we're going to increase by 100 or so the likes on our new Facebook page. And when you get home tonight, if you would, share that, share with your friends something about the Institute, so we can get a lot of communications going. And if you can't read the side, I'm going to close this way. I'm going to read the quote we have on one of our sides. I hope you love our banners. They just arrived this morning. I was really sweating bullets on that. This is, there can be no greater need in today's America than a movement away from the fringes of destruction, overly partisan rhetoric, and toward a robust national conversation where respect and thoughtful discourse are once again valued. We do that already in West Virginia, as everyone has attested to. We want to take what we have here in West Virginia and spread a little bit of that around the rest of the nation. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It was a big day for a lot of us who worked hard for this to come together, and I'm so grateful you came. Thank you.
Law Enforcement Live is filmed live with the men and women of law enforcement. All participants in tonight's show are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this segment of Law Enforcement Live with the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. On behalf of Michael Hornby, owner of TV 10, and in cooperation with Sheriff of Berkeley County, Curtis Keller, we want to thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, we have Eric Sterick doing our sling producing tonight. And again, as I said, I'm John Alderton. We're riding with Berkeley County Unit 132, Jason Wolf. Currently, we're en route to, I believe it was a 2-vehicle accident.
Yes.
Up at Winchester Avenue and Novak Drive. We'll be south tonight. So, Deputy Wolf, can you tell us a little bit about you and your background?
Well, I graduated high school, went in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and after getting out of the Marine Corps, I piddled around a little bit, and then I worked in the jail 7 years, and since then I've been deputy almost 13 years now.
Okay. So, did you grow up in the local area when you went to high school?
Jefferson County.
Jefferson County, okay. Very good. So, when you were in school and then later you went into the Marine Corps, was a career in law enforcement one of your goals, or did that just happen?
Yes, that was my, and that's what I wanted to do ultimately.
Okay. What role did you play for in the Marines for your military service? What did you do?
I was a what they call a PME, primary marksmanship instructor, and also did field artillery.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the community and many others around our great nation, I would like to extend my thanks for your military service. One thing that I know firsthand is it takes all branches of the military to make it work. It truly does. So thank you.
Thank you.
47 correct.
32 Berkeley. What was the vehicle's description?
Black Hyundai Sonata, black SUV. Disregard, it's going to be a green Ford Explorer and a gold Kia Spectra.
Tim. Sound like it could be a rear end, but we'll figure it out when we get up there. Let's see here. Yeah, I see him right here down here on the curb.
Berkeley 2133, are you clear for information?
Yes.
Foxtrot 787036, back to Daniel Morris of Mabel Lane, Martinsburg Break.
Everybody all right?
Hey, John.
You have all your license?
You okay?
You want me to get ready?
No, I don't want to. I'm just kind of ready to see a doctor.
Okay.
You need my registration too?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not for a TV show, is it?
Or TV 10.
TV 10.
Are you serious?
You got any kind of ID? Providing statement forms right now. So, fill this out, tell me what happened, sign and date it, and at the bottom